Sometimes, it's best to take a step back if you find yourself lacking motivation. This was something I personally witnessed during a pivotal match that may decide my boss's advancement. There was a noticeable sense of stress when the computer malfunctioned just before the presentation began, as he had consistently helped and encouraged me. My supervisor apologized profusely as he hastily attempted to restart the machine. The person in charge, however, was clearly agitated and got to his feet. He yelled, "I don't have time for a company that can't even put on a decent presentation." I could sense the pressure of the situation bearing down on my supervisor, who had a sad expression on his face. I felt something stirring inside of me, even though I was called a lazy employee. In this emergency, I made the decision to act. I said, "I'll do it," and I moved toward the stage. The guests gave me a disbelieving look, but as soon as I spoke, they paid attention. This was the turning point in my life, where it had become stagnant. Samuel is my name, and I'm 35 years old. I work for a travel company that arranges package tours for a wide spectrum of customers, both domestically and abroad. Being able to travel and experience other cultures while remaining in my own nation is one of the benefits of my employment. Though it was an exciting environment, I hadn't been all that ambitious. I found my work interesting and enjoyable, yet I was happy enough to keep things as they were. It was very wonderful that my colleagues continued to go up the corporate ladder. Some even achieved the position of assistant manager. Even though rumors about my lack of motivation since I hadn't taken any exams for promotions were circulating, I didn't feel envious. Lisa was among the new employees hired during April's personnel reshuffle. She was incredibly attractive and a capable supervisor who had grace while dealing with overseas customers. It was soon evident that she had been sent to our branch to be considered for the role of store manager. I once made a mistake when going through paperwork. The name and address of the hotel where a tour was scheduled didn't appear to be on the internet. I did some research and found that the hotel had moved recently. Discreetly, I brought the materials over to Lisa. "What about this hotel?" I began. Startled, she looked up the same website to support my conclusions. She exclaimed, clearly relieved, "You're right, thanks for noticing." We went back and forth about other hotels, and I brought up a feature that struck my attention each time. This location might not fit the tour concept. The emphasis on luxury seems a bit too much. "Well done," she answered. "How about this one? They are running a 3-month sale." "Excellent decision." Lisa hesitated and cocked her head. "Samuel, did you just talk to me like you always do?" "Yeah, I see." Her astonishment made me realize that people rarely had direct conversations about their jobs. "You do realize that every website we visited was in French?" she inquired. "Indeed, but I majored in it in college," I said, ignoring her praise. "That is quite remarkable. Are you able to read as well?" I felt modest, so I dismissed it. Subsequently, our branch made the decision to take part in an internal competition. Lisa's career may be greatly impacted by the project for which she was selected to take the lead. I was added to the team, most likely because of my fluency in French from our earlier chat. I didn't think I would be able to do much, but leaving the squad would just attract unwanted attention. I ran into Chris, a senior coworker from my former position, in the lobby one day while on a competition-related business trip. "Hi, Samuel." Looking dapper in a suit, he said, "What a coincidence." "So, is your company participating in the Sakura Group competition too?" he inquired after they had caught up. "Yes," I answered, sensing the weight of being seen as a formidable opponent. Lisa gave me a questioning glance as the talk came to a close. "Was that man employed by your former employer?" "Yes, he was a senior colleague," I said, attempting to mask my uneasiness. "It appears that he depended on you quite a deal." I probably noticed that my tone was a little harsh and soon stopped talking. Lisa appeared to be attempting to understand what I was saying, but I avoided the topic. That day's meeting with our customer went well, and Lisa got right into competition planning when she got back to the office. She was not that much older than me, even if she was my superior. She made an effort to live up to the expectations. Nevertheless, given that she was given such important tasks. It was fascinating. She was in a high position already, even if a promotion would imply a better evaluation and a bigger compensation. I was unable to see the advantages of her unwavering efforts. Was it a great feeling of duty, or was it just fun? In any case, I didn't understand what she was doing. While I frequently observed other staff members being overburdened with work and deadlines, Lisa already had it all: wealth and respect. What kept me wondering was what drove her. Oh, Lisa. She was still working past closing, so I called out to her. What's going on? The closing time has passed. She was surprised to realize that she hadn't been paying attention to the time. I was unaware of it. I'm grateful. Samuel, are you going home? All right. I have a question for you. I hope this isn't disrespectful, but how are you able to work so hard? It's not like you have to be participating in this tournament. You also have other jobs. Without doing all of this, you would still get promoted, right? All right. Lisa moved the chair beside her. She seemed to want me to take a seat. She showed me her own smartphone when I did. Pictures of a small child and what looked to be her parents were all over it. I'm this person. Really. My parents took me on numerous trips since they enjoyed traveling. In fact, the backgrounds of the pictures varied a lot. They included pricey landscapes, old buildings, and even some uncommon creatures. During my time as a student, I also took several trips with friends and family, and I still do. I treasure every single one of these recollections. They all appear to be fantastic memories. Indeed, traveling is a lot of fun. I accepted this position in order to let individuals have even more fun on their travels than they anticipated. Making travel more enjoyable for others is the reason for my hard work, not merely for praise or promotion. Of course, having a higher position aids in my goal achieving in this regard. It facilitates the approval process for plans. Lisa grinned and showed me her half-finished materials, which vividly display a lovely sea and boats. Vacations should be enjoyable. I find joy in the simple thought of seeing people enjoy themselves on my tours. Her eyes glistened as she talked, not displaying any signs of weariness. She was proud of the job she did. I'm sure people will enjoy the tour you planned. I love to travel as well. I feel motivated now that you mentioned it, Lisa remarked, getting back to her computer and rolling up her sleeves. She showed me the English competition script when I offered to help. How can I best communicate my main points? Could I ask you for some advice? Yes, this could, in my opinion, be made softer. For a Japanese audience, it might seem obvious, but for those from other nations, it might be confusing. What say you about this? Do I also need to change this part? That does make sense. We consequently both lost track of time and worked past our usual hours. This was the first time I had ever been so immersed in a task, which was unusual for someone like me who normally tried to avoid overworking. It goes without saying that Lisa had an impact on me. I became aware that I could see things more broadly and concentrate on things other than my current job. The competition day finally arrived. Among the 5 companies that presented, we were the 5th. Lisa patiently waited for her turn and even picked up some knowledge from the other lectures, despite the constant strain. I did as she suggested and listened to the talks. Lisa had her turn, walking up to the stage and setting her laptop down on the desk. Even after a minute, nothing happened as we waited for our company's emblem to show on the white screen. Lisa tapped away quickly at the keyboard up on stage. I'm sorry. Give us a moment, please. Emma, our senior colleague, went to see how Lisa was doing. What's wrong, Lisa? My laptop isn't functioning. It was all right just now. I'm attempting a restart. It is not turning on. Someone please grab the backup laptop. I hurried to the stage with Lisa's bags in tow to deliver the backup laptop. But it also refused to switch on. It was confirmed to be charged, therefore there didn't appear to be a power problem. In my panic, I yelled, "We should go back to the office and get another one." Emma waved it away right away because she knew she wouldn't make it in time. However, even this exchange's time was valuable. Lisa kept all of her script files on her laptop. She didn't have a printed copy. Presenting a tour without any images on the screen would be meaningless, even if she had printed it. Is everything in order? With a concerned expression, the host came over and informed us that our laptop was broken. An irate man who was sitting in the front row, probably an executive of the company, spoke up. Enough now. Sit down if you're not ready. I'm sorry. Give us a little more time, please. We have no time for a business that cannot even put up an appropriate appearance. Mr. White, you do realize that there are 4 other companies here. The foreigner seated next to him was asked by the man. The foreigner, frowning, put his documents on the table and appeared to comprehend Japanese. At that point, I thought back to Lisa's efforts over the previous few months. Her endless hours spent honing her strategy, her love for having people enjoy her trips. She had even visited the location to make sure all the details were correct. This is not how it is going to end. I handed the laptop over to Emma and Lisa and went up on stage. The attendees ignored us in favor of talking or using their cell phones. I inhaled deeply. Don't worry, I've committed Lisa's entire script to memory. I apologize. It seems like our laptop is scared speaking to all of you, but don't worry. I can talk more clearly than it can. Kindly glance at the handout's first page. The man who had been annoyed a moment ago looked up sharply as I spoke. Mr. White and the other staff members were observing me as well. As directed, they shifted their focus to the handout. My English appeared to be interpreted perfectly. Where are you interested in traveling? Naturally, to a fun location, correct? Someone at the edge of the table spoke up as I carried on in French. You speak French? In French, I answered, yes, but it's very basic. But how's that for some Japanese humility? Excellent. I'm happy. Perhaps I ought to think about conducting tours as well. That would be great. The non-French speaking individuals appeared perplexed. I said I was sorry in English, then translated into the just learned Chinese. All I wanted to do was ask him to grade my French. I appear to have passed. I'll be making sales pitches to our Chinese clients after my Chinese improves enough. The gentleman I made eye contact with had a name tag that said he was Chinese. He responded to my Chinese as I had expected. Since I didn't speak Chinese when I was at the previous firm, Chris and the other employees from other companies were staring at me, though I couldn't see Lisa and the others standing next to me. Chris was probably astonished too. Okay, enough small talk. Let's get the presentation underway. Returning to English, I proceeded with the lecture, announcing jokes here and there to diffuse the audience's mounting tension. I showed some interesting details about the tourist attractions while illustrating the slides. I completed my speech precisely on time, bowed, and ended. The audience applauded enthusiastically, as though they had just seen a show. I had communicated what was required, and Lisa had handled the remainder. I gave up my position on stage. The competition results would be communicated to us afterwards, but on our way out, Mr. White personally came up to me. Your speech was really enjoyable. In English, he continued, I hope you can make the excursion as enjoyable as we have planned. The staff members who couldn't understand were thrilled when I translated for them. We made it back to the office after we were successful, and Lisa ushered me into the meeting room. Samuel, I don't know how to thank you. She had a dejected expression. The laptop had failed unexpectedly, even though I had planned ahead. It was only right to be annoyed. We're teammates, so it's only natural to cover for each other. I'm completely useless. Even though I spoke a lot, I ultimately needed to rely on you. We had no influence on the malfunctioning of both laptops. Even after coming back from the competition, Lisa's computers were still not functioning. We had given them over to the IT division so they could look into the reason. My preparation of the script and slides was lacking. I feel like a novice committing these errors. Your rapid thinking was extraordinary in comparison to that. I didn't think you would recall the script. Well, that wasn't all of it. We made it together. You spoke several languages with such ease as well. I was unaware that you were fluent in French. Yes, you were my go-to person for this competition. I have to get better at managing things by myself. Lisa smiled at herself, and I thought that was strange. Aren't you going to say let's keep working together? What do you mean? I mean, not to boast, but if you utilize me well, we might win future competitions too. That wouldn't mean anything, Lisa said firmly. If I don't win the competition on my own merits, how can I confidently provide tours? I can only be genuinely proud of something when it's my own accomplishment. Lisa's remarks hit me like a bolt from the sky. Unlike every other supervisor and coworker I had met, she was unique. Actually, there are things I've been avoiding to tell, like why you're so good with languages. Yes, will you tell me? Yes, since you're different from the others. I started to explain that because of my parents' employment, I had traveled the world since I was a small child. Since English was spoken in the majority of the countries, Japanese and English played equal roles in my life. I was surprised that none of the children my age could speak English fluently when my parents' job finally settled down and we relocated to Japan permanently. They had trouble writing and reading. I publicly used English as effortlessly as I would have in any other nation, and I couldn't understand why something so basic was so difficult for them. I always thought of school textbooks as children's books. My classmates trusted me, of course. Before exams, they asked for study advice and assistance with their homework. When I was younger, I delightedly assisted them and liked imparting my knowledge. I eventually learned to accept being someone else's tool. Not until I was a college student and working on a group project for my French degree did I realize something wasn't right. I was given all the duties by the group, including leadership, material creation, and even the presentation. They all responded to my questions about why I had to do everything with the same response. Because Jayan can speak English. They didn't see English and French as being different from one another, which surprised me. They held that proficiency in all languages was innate for anyone who could speak English. Despite the fact that we were taking a language skills course, they went for the quick fix in order to earn high marks. Because of this, the team as a whole enjoyed our successes equally, and my contributions also benefited others. That's when I understood I was being duped. Nevertheless, I felt it was more effective for me to be in control because it was only a student project and not particularly challenging. I obtained a job at a travel agency there. I was respected as a trilingual speaker of Japanese, English, and French at that point, as I had also studied French. I was initially really excited to put my skills to use and had a lot of work, but that didn't last long. About a year after I arrived, my immediate senior, Chris, made a task request. Because he wasn't very strong at English, he requested me to make a proposal, which I happily accepted because he had been looking after me since I joined. Chris asked me to assist with another work after expressing satisfaction with the proposal. It took a lot of extra and effort to assist him as I worked on my own project. However, the satisfaction of having our project accepted and developed into a working product was unmatched, so I ignored my complaints and carried on with my task. A year later, the situation deteriorated. I was still working under Chris, who had been elevated to section chief, when I could finally look at the company as a whole. I made the decision to use older documents as reference materials when I was assigned an increasing number of jobs. When I saw the approved project proposals, I was astounded. Chris's name was the only one on the report for a project that I had completed roughly 90% by myself. Before I joined, I had heard that his performance wasn't so great. I couldn't believe it when I looked through more proposals and paperwork and discovered that Chris's name had been substituted for mine everywhere. Chris was in fact the project leader because he was the one who sent our employer the final documentation. All of the research, ideas, and proposals, however, belonged to me. Furthermore, Chris was unable to produce the English paperwork. I searched for Chris, deciding to face him. I caught him chatting with our department boss, Alex, in the smoking section when he was away from his desk. Chris, the Paris tour you submitted this morning was great, Alex replied. I was involved in the initiative that Alex was discussing. Yes, since I have a contact there. I could gather a lot of information, responded Chris. He said just what I had said. My father's coworker, who was a big help to me when I was growing up, provided feedback for that tour. I couldn't resist saying, "Excuse me," and I moved in front of them. Chris appeared a little rattled, but he soon collected himself. "Hey Samuel, how are you? Do you also want to smoke here?" "No. I want to ask Chris a question. I understand that the initiative you were just discussing, the Paris tour, was my idea." "Yes, Jan was a big help. I appreciate that." "Assisted? That's putting it mildly. It went much beyond that." However, Alex nodded in agreement with what Chris had said. "Chris's guidance has been invaluable." "Is that accurate? Don't give me too much credit. I'll become conceited," a beaming Chris warned. I was able to break up their cordial conversation. Not just that, but the Hokkaido tour last time and the North America plan before that. Those were my projects too. "That's not the right attitude," Alex abruptly corrected me. "One does not work alone. When we operate as a team, we obtain results. It's not admirable to try to claim all the credit." I was taken aback by what Alex said. Was this something he said without any knowledge? But as a result of those fruitful endeavors, Chris received a promotion. He is the manager, so he is being recognized for leading the team, Alex said. "You should learn from Chris and not be so self-centered." I couldn't express how stunned I was. No, I didn't want to elaborate further. No matter how hard I worked, I would always be used for their own gain when I worked for superiors like them. My accomplishments would be absorbed into the admiration of others. When my mistrust of the people depending on me and the evaluators reached its zenith, I left that firm in less than a month. Fortunately, I was able to find a new job quickly because of my language skills. I work for the company right now. They wouldn't be able to take credit for my accomplishments in this organization. Naturally, I didn't put my all into my work, and I didn't reveal my language abilities. I reasoned that it would be useless to put in a lot of effort if it would just benefit someone else. However, after seeing Lisa, I understood how satisfying it is to have my work acknowledged. I used to want to work in a field that brought happiness to people, but somewhere along the road, I developed a selfish agenda. It was the appropriate choice for you to leave that organization. Of course, having fun at work is important, but it's normal to lose motivation if your efforts aren't properly recognized. Lisa stated with a hint of anger in her voice. That although Alex is a bad assessor, I'm partly to blame. Things may not have gone that way if I had spoken with them more effectively. You can use that reflection in this situation. Nobody in this room will take credit from you while I'm here. How comforting that sentence is. To be honest, I had fun getting ready for this tournament. It was motivating to see how hard you worked. That makes me very happy to hear. Samuel, as your manager, you are no longer need to repress your emotions. Never hesitate to speak up. Follow your desires. Lisa's phone rang at that very moment. As she took her phone out of her pocket, she remarked, "Pardon me for a moment. This is Mayam Tours, Lisa." "True. How come?" "Really? I'll be there immediately." Lisa quickly got off the phone and swept out of the conference room, grabbing my arm in the process. What happened? They identified the root of the computer issue. We must return to the competition site. Was the problem at the venue? More like with the participants. On the way, I heard something startling. It was discovered that Chris was the root of Lisa's computer problems. He had positioned a strong magnet beneath the desk after his presentation, which broke the equipment. As he'd attempted to recover it, a Sakura Group employee noticed him. It was a totally different setting in the conference room when Lisa and I arrived. There was Chris, looking sad, with others from the Sakura Group and my previous boss at the company. An official came over to us and gave us the rundown. Chris had admitted to undermining us after being discovered. After his supervisor was contacted, the circumstances were re-explained. Lisa pointed to Chris and the others and stated, "This is where we were. Is it true? It's Junk's fault. Mikas was gone. Because he betrayed us and left the company, my efficiency dropped. Our performance stagnated, and his departure caused so much trouble," he cried, pointing at me. Without you, we would have taken first place in this tournament. So you sabotaged John out of fear of his abilities. Lisa spoke, a hint of rage in her voice. I was unfamiliar with the term. Is it satisfying to stomp on other people's hard work? Given how often you've done it, perhaps you don't even give a damn. What do you even know about me? I'm aware enough to recognize that without John, nothing will get done. You claimed ownership of his labor. Here, who is the true betrayer? John was an employee of mine. I refuse to claim credit. Isn't what you did proof enough? Lisa gave Chris's manager her business card. This is my identity. Please bear in mind that I anticipate we will appear in court. Judge, how do you mean? It's clear. If someone were to meddle in our company affairs and do harm to our property, a lawsuit would be inevitable. Nobody could argue with her since her statements were so reasonable. It ultimately resulted in a civil case. Chris was fired for breaking several rules of behavior. He is not going to be able to get another employment while the trial is going on. I don't think he will be able to readily reintegrate into society even after the trial. Anticipatedly, I learned via rumors that Chris is currently leading a modest life and heavily indebted. However, Lisa was promoted as a result of her competition performance and her prior accomplishments. In addition, I received a promotion in recognition of my noteworthy efforts. As expected, my language abilities were discovered, and we were both given abroad assignments. Lisa smiled and remarked, researching on-site will be so much easier. We are currently sharing a home in our new assignment. I have a great deal of respect for Lisa now that she has drastically altered my life. I've grown to have feelings for her as a lady over time. She added that my commitment drew her in. I used to believe that effort was useless, but certain people understand it well. I regret not being more forthcoming and holding preconceptions, but I lacked the bravery. I promise to be more trustworthy going forward and make an effort to evaluate my subordinates fairly. At this company, I'm sure things will proceed smoothly.